For centuries, human societies have operated under a distinct set of geographical and biological rules. Then, a towering, primordial mass of muscle breaches the ocean's surface, stepping onto our shorelines and instantly rendering those historical rules obsolete. Faced with a crisis of this scale, our initial reaction is rooted in a fragile illusion. We assume that any obstacle found in nature can be subdued, provided we apply enough physical force to it. This flowchart tracks our escalation protocol. We start with a targeted strike, then escalate to scattered bombings. Finally, we drop a massive expanding circle of explosives. But when that absolute force hits the center monolith, the blast dissipates. The target simply absorbs our maximum violence. Every projectile is spent, the smoke clears, and the target moves forward at the exact same pace. In the bunkers, the tactical maps are now irrelevant. We are watching the human species get demoted from the top of the food chain. Stripped of our dominance, blind panic takes over. In our desperate instinct to kill the beast and restore order, we begin discarding our own rules of engagement, willingly abandoning our humanity to match the brutality of the threat. There is a very specific moment in the command room where tactical strategy dissolves completely. Once conventional weapons fail, panic dictates the next move, and commanders reach for the absolute bottom of the arsenal to authorize apocalyptic countermeasures. This decision crosses the moral event horizon. On one side of this strict ethical boundary, we are engaging in desperate self-defense. On the other side, we are playing God. The weapons that cross this threshold are not designed for surgical military defense. They are blunt, apocalyptic instruments built specifically to vaporize entire metropolitan grids in a millisecond and poison the surrounding Earth for generations. We launch these devices directly into our own territories, explicitly rendering our environment totally hostile to biological life. We initiate anti-human retaliation, and we do it under the guise of protecting human survival. The instant those launch keys turn, our military leaders stop being the protectors of the population. By authorizing a strike of this magnitude, we actively become the agents of our own apocalypse. The ultimate strike ignites. The flash consumes the landscape, erasing every structure in its path. The command centers justify this absolute violence because the horror they are fighting seems entirely unnatural. Then the blinding light fades. The dust settles. The entity is still standing, having completely withstood the absolute limit of human destruction. There is no salvaged city to rebuild. The strike leaves behind nothing but a heavily irradiated, smoldering crater where millions of people used to live. The battlefield falls entirely silent. The monster remains standing in the ruins, completely indifferent to the blast, while the humans staring at the radar screens slowly recognize the total loss of their moral compass. We failed to defeat the threat, but we successfully suffocated our own soul in the attempt. When the question is asked, "Do you even know what you are doing?" it lands with a weight that cuts through the sirens. It is a demand for accountability from someone watching the definition of humanity dissolve in real time. The fallout now settling into the lungs and water supplies of the survivors didn't originate with the monster. Every radioactive particle was manufactured, authorized by command, and deployed by our government. We poisoned the very sanctuary we were trying to protect. Watching a colossal beast crush steel and concrete is terrifying. Looking into the mirror and realizing that our own leaders will gladly scorch the earth and irradiate civilians to save face is an existential terror that permanently fractures our society. The truth is, you cannot undrop a nuclear payload. The soil stays toxic, the genetic damage carries forward through decades, and the unyielding desire to dominate a superior physical force ensures absolutely irreversible damage to our own home. Eventually, the entity simply turns away and returns to the sea. The threat leaves, and we are left completely alone in the quiet, watching the ash gently bury the shattered remains of our cities. By utilizing forbidden weapons to match an apocalyptic force blow for blow, we strip ourselves of any hero status. We survive the encounter, only to find ourselves permanently trapped in a tragedy of our own making.